Whatever. Yeah, we are playing in this game bracket right here. It is best of 3. The winners of this game will go on to face the winners of this game, and the losers of both games will be eliminated from the tournament. It looks like we're already doing banning phase. I completely missed that. We got Jarvan ban and Nautilus ban on the red side, followed by Hecarim, Malzahar, and Lucian on the blue side. And then they're going to lock in the Viego ban, followed by a Jhin hover. And the Jhin is going to be locked in. Let's see what red team responds with. They are going to lock in this Misfortune. I wish I had a little bit more experience with bot lane matchups to tell you if that is a good matchup or not. And then we do have the Lilia lock in. Ooh, and the Renekton Nocturne with the immediate answer, followed by the Gwen hover. Gwen into Renekton would be interesting, for sure. I mean, it should favor Gwen, but you still can't sleep on Renekton's early damage. But in the long haul, I think Gwen will have the advantage. Now, if I was red side, I would be looking to ban some mid laners that are AP heavy because it's very AD heavy on Happy to Be Here side, so they could just stack armor right now. I mean, obviously you can't ban all the AP champs, right? But that being said, if you take some good AP threats away from them, that's going to limit mid lane's champ pool for sure. So again, let me know if the volume is okay, if I need to turn it up, turn down stuff, whatever, and I'll make the adjustments. We do have the Leona lock in. Now, the one issue I'm already seeing on the side of Domain Expansion is they do not have a way to peel this Misfortune right now. I do not think this Misfortune is going to get any clean ultimates just based off a draft alone, but at the same time, who am I to judge? I mean, the game hasn't actually started yet, but just looking at it from face value, that Nocturne Renekton looks pretty spooky. And if Leona goes in, she's just going to get a face full of Hoi and Jhin and Thresh Flay. And then they're going to answer with Yone mid. I do think just off a draft, off of face value alone, I do like Happy to Be Here's draft a lot more. But at the same time, Yone and Gwen make for a very, very scary combo. You do have to deal with them, which might be enough to allow Misfortune to go under the radar with her ultimates. We'll see actually when we get into Q and when team fights start to happen, if they even happen like I envision. With draft already, we are just waiting to see when both teams are ready to lock in. And we will get this show on the road after the, what is it? I think like a 3-minute time delay on the spectator. Something like that. Alright, they are now loading into the game, or at least hopefully loading into the game at some point. We are on a 3-minute spectator delay, and looking at it just off of face value right away, like I said, I like the side of blue teams a lot better than red teams, but at the same time, you cannot ignore Yone and Gwen damage. They have really good dive, and especially if they all line up nice and pretty, that's going to be a world of hurt that you can't really itemize for. I think this game is going to be determined on whether or not whatever team pulls the trigger, if they better just have good positioning when they do pull the trigger or not. Because I mean, with all this dive, with all this heavy dive, you know, Yone, Leona, fucking Nocturne, and Thresh and Necton, it could be very, very easy to get carried away. With this game one, it'll look like, or excuse me, stuttering. With this game one, I'm eager to see which team is hungrier more and wants to get the first win right out of the gate. I mean, obviously they both do, but let's see which team is actually able to do that. Excuse me while I go get a drink, and I'll be back in about 10 seconds. Alrighty, back with my liquid courage because I have never shoutcasted anything before in my life, so bear with me. Ooh, that's a Yone. I think that might be a Yone bot lane actually. Because I know Shadow's their mid laner. I mean, unless they decided, which I don't know what the rules are in terms of swapping positions. I don't remember or not, but be very interesting to see how that lane plays out. Alright, we are now loading in, and it looks like it is Yone ADC. Be very, very, very interesting.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Looks like both teams opting to 5-point at the start of the game, with Nocturne lagging a little bit behind, but that's quite alright, and no action is happening right now.
Until minions spawn.
Looks like they're gonna force their way up to try to get this vision down, maybe. Yep. Yoshi Miner with the plus 25 mana on mana flow. GG easy, mid diff. Renekton opting to leash. My jungler would be having a heart attack with having his laner's leash, but that's what he's opting to do at level 1. I think if they're going to make this duo melee bot lane work, I think they're going to have to shove for prio, but it doesn't look like they're able to get that right now for this level 2 all in that Leona wants. Derp getting level 2, putting the hurt on the alligator. And Darkin just not respecting level up timers, taking a lot of damage, free of charge. And this looks like he's living in Spain without the S. Decent hook, decent poke. Really good trade, half health before he even hits level 2. Unfortunate timing on the Q by Derp. If he had held that a little bit longer, he actually probably could have gotten first blood right there. Be very interesting to see here if Derp makes this dive work. Yep, even if he dies here, that is extremely good for him. And he gets to execute. That's insane. Poor guy. That is a very, very sad crocodile in the top lane. I mean, and look at that. He's already up 600 gold just off of that play alone. First blood, and that alligator misses about 1.5 waves. Meanwhile, we got some action going on in the bot lane. They're going to commit the ignite. It looks like... Oof. I totally forgot that Yone had to recall right there. Good effort on the attempt to all in, but they don't see that they're getting ganked from behind, and this is looking devastating. This is looking no bueno. Very good roam from the mid laner and the bot lane, or sorry, the mid laner and the jungler to punish that all in. Yone flash, Leona ignite, and all for naught. Pretty action-packed start for the first 4 minutes of this game. Pretty good turnaround from the blue team. Ooh. And the repeat gank from Josh. There is a decent minion wave here, and Renekton does have the Fury, just does not have the cooldowns. I almost wonder if, you know, if Renekton decided to all in a little bit sooner, if he just one for ones that. He does have Conquer, and he did have 50 Fury. If he was able to get that double Q onto both champions, I think he heals enough to be able to kill Derp 1 for 1. Pajamas just stepping up, looking to see if he can catch this Leona. I don't think it's a good play personally, but oh, and it looks like they did lane swap. I actually did not even, if I have eyes, they are just putting Misfortune back in the bot lane. Tap Tekka just go up against this Hui. Good cancel on the Zenith Blade. Looks like we got blue team starting this dragon here. Leona's not 6 yet, so I don't know that they can even contest or not. Pretty decent trade back and forth in the top lane, but Renekton's got to be very, very careful. I mean, Gwen is 6 and has the stronger level 6, but if Renekton does have happy feet and dodges at least 1 or 2 of those R missiles from Derp, he could easily turn it in the extended fight with Enraged Fury building up from the Dominus. We got Gwen checking in the jungle right here, but he might be getting pincered here. Looks like they're not opting to go for that. We do have at least crab beans started. Yep, and they're going to start doing the void grubs. Perfectly fine. This would be very good for their team considering they have Gwen and Yone with grubs. Even if it's only 3, even if it's only like 1 or 2, every little bit helps with those champions in the side lane later in the game.
Well met, human. Well left, dreams.
Face the crowd.
As we can see, Derp is now just shy of 1,000 gold ahead of his laner. He's in a pretty solid spot. Derp opting to all in right here. And the flash away from the Renekton. And rightfully so. Those are very scary scissors. Or I should say needles in this case. If Derp could shove this and just start holding the freeze on the bounce back, this Renekton's going to be in a lot of trouble. Except it doesn't help when Derp just allows him to trade health like that back with the Q. Leona engaging onto the Thresh. Thresh opting to flash away. Good hook back on the Leona. The box coming down. The flash over the box and the ignite. And the curtain call's coming out. But Leona cancels. And I trolled the stream. While Renekton's also fighting in the top lane. He dies. And then Leona also dies in response. You have the Hui ulti coming down onto the Lilia. The Lilia does ult back, but they can't get anything out of it. What a wild sequence of events that happened just there. Well, while everything cools back down, let's see what happens in this bot lane right here. We got the Thresh with the hook into the flay, or into the flash over the box. Very good ult, or very good stun by the Jhin. And good counter ult with Misfortune just barely edging out on the Thresh, threshold. That's very hard to say. Just very unfortunate. Meanwhile, with Derp's fight in the top lane. Yeah, I mean, he just goes in and just doesn't have the damage. Gwen cooldowns are OP. As we return back to the action. Now that everything's cooled back off a little bit, everybody's going back about their business. Like, just based off of gold, everybody's evened out damn near. 500 gold disparity between blue and red team. It was about 1.2 earlier. Leona's gonna get caught out again, taking some decent chip damage. Curtain Call coming out, seeing if they could execute this Leona, but Misfortune's just going to face tank the last 2 shots, and understandably so. Lilia on the top side looking to get this second round of grubs, which, again, this will be very, very dangerous come later in the game when you got Gwen and Yone on the side lanes. I mean, with that being said, you know, you won 3-1. You got only Lilia and Leona to try to protect this Misfortune. But at the same time, you know, those are 2 very, very, very scary side laning champions, even if they're behind. And that is 6 Void Grubs. Leona with the engage and the Misfortune ult just doing 0 damage, just healing the enemy team. Meanwhile, we got Tekka ulting away from Hui's ultimate. Well, and it's no wonder. Misfortune just has 0 damage items. She's got a pickaxe. No serrated Dirk, no nothing. Very good Leona ultimate. The box coming down in response. Gambit is going to escape with his life. Tekka comes in with the TP, but I don't think he's got his ultimate here. And I think Tekka's just going to pay for that with his life. Yep. Is a very, very, very unfortunate teleport. And Misfortune's going to pay the ultimate price for it. Good job delegating the tanking of that bot lane tower. Lilia looking to set up a dive of her own on the top side, but Renekton's just able to push it out and not let that wave crash. Looking like first tower is going to go to the side of Jhin and company. Okay, Leona engage onto the Jhin, I guess. Just for funsies. I guess it doesn't really matter. She didn't die, but did waste her aftershock, which is fairly long cooldown. In terms of CS, though, pretty impressed that Tekka is able to keep up with this Hui just shoving in waves, especially after that TP play in the bot side.
Was that me?
Game is still in the hands of blue side, but just looking at the score right now, I mean, anything could happen, especially with this Gwen. This Gwen is almost matching this Hui in terms of gold. I mean, now granted, Jhin is way ahead in gold, but at the same time, that might be a problem later with this engage happening in the jungle, the ultimate coming down from the Lilia, but just no follow-up. Derp on the Gwen is able to get the top tower. And if he really wants to, he could honestly just stay top and start becoming a bully against this Renekton. If he could, if the red team could start if red team could start drawing attention in the side lanes, get their team split up, that'll be very good considering that they have these 3 grubs, or these 6 grubs. I mean, and then just look at that. Derp not even hitting the sweet spot on the Q, doing 1/3 of Renekton's HP. Just like that. Nocturne's gonna ult in response. Derp might have the damage to be able to survive this, and nope. He just didn't line it up correctly. Didn't line up the needles correctly. If he hits one of those sets of needles, I think he at least 1-for-1s that. Meanwhile, Lilia is going to die in the mid lane. And Shadow is just going to become artwork. Tekka with the Flash R, and Yoshi with the, I mean, understandably so, with the fear, because that spooked me as well. It also spooked Tekka back to the fountain. It spooked the color right off of his screen, turned it gray. Just an unfortunate series of plays on the red side right here. They're going to give up another tower in response for that. Derp in the pit, but he's just gonna he used the passive part of the E, which reduces the cooldown as soon as if you auto something within a set period of time. Just get right back over the wall. Blue team starting to pull ahead by a fair amount. They're almost 5,000 gold ahead. They're 4.5 right now, and they're going to look to set up for this dragon to get them on soul point. Now the question is, do you fight it here, or do you try to get more pressure on the side lanes? I think you try to fight it here so that they don't force you onto soul point. Granted, you guys are behind. You do have a very good combo with the Yone, the Gwen, and the Leona. I think in terms of team fight, I think red team has a scarier team fight, but I think blue side has a more reliable team fight, as they're going to face check the Renekton in the bush. The Hoi ult's going to come down. Curtain Call is also going to come down. Lilia is going to fall to the Jhin. Jhin with the double, and it's just a wipe. Complete, absolute wipe. And this is looking like a travesty for red team right now. They got the grubs, but they don't have any means of using them whatsoever. Meanwhile, blue side is just going to further their goal with their third dragon, which is going to force them onto soul point. And when this Baron spawns, it is going to be a very, very uncomfortable situation for red team on which one to stop. On the one note, it is Chemdrake, so it's not the end of the world. But at the same time, it still feels bad. Not sure what red team needs to do to come back. I mean, I do know what they need to do, but they need to... I'm not sure what's going on with their execution. But red team definitely need to use those grubs to their advantage to get the map split. They just cannot fight these guys in a straight-up fight right now. I feel like blue team just has the better coordination as a whole. And I think red team just needs to recognize that and start pushing for side lanes. Now, that obviously doesn't mean just live in the side lane, right? But they do need to play to their strengths right now, and their strength right now is clearly not team fighting. We look to the gold disparity, is only getting worse. 9,000 gold lead, just shy of. This is definitely blue team's game to lose right now. Leona and Thresh are going to hash it out, and Leona's just going to get the worst end of it, except Misfortune is just going to, you know, be attracted to the Thresh hook like it was a bug zapper. Just walking right into it, and that's going to be Baron for the side of blue side. For the side of blue side. For blue team. Tekka's going to come in with a heroic ultimate, and it's not going to matter. We'll say a bit of unfortunate for Derp on the Gwen. Had a very good laning phase, but obviously, you know what Lynn told me the other day, win lane does not equal win game. And that is on display in this game in particular. Just getting team diffed left and right. With the dragon now coming up in a minute, this is Soul Point, and they're just going to further expand their lead. Now Chem Drake, if I recall, this one, I think that's the one that gives more damage reduction the lower you get, which in this case, normally it's not the best dragon in the world, but on the side of blue team, it is actually a very good dragon because red team is already doing no damage, so now they're going to do even less than no damage. Tekka and Lilia versus this Renekton, but this Renekton is 3 levels up on the both of them. He could easily 1v2 this if he plays it well. That is a very, very, very scary crocodile now. Except I do think now he dies to this Lilia.
Blue team double kill.
This is just a fiesta up here. Oh my word.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
As we go back to the mid lane fight that I decided to wean off of. If I know how to stream properly. Thresh gets caught out right here. Flashes the wall. Very good flash over the wall. And follow-up. They get the Thresh. But at what cost?
Blue team double kill.
And if I had to guess, this game is probably over. At least looking at it just from face value. Yeah, earlier in this game, this Renekton was down almost 1,500. Now he's evened it out. And he's a whole level up on the top laner. Now, it's not 100% his fault, but when you have teammates to circumvent the bad laning phase, it helps out a lot. Meanwhile, Derp here, trying to 1v2. Just not going to happen, unfortunately. I mean, he does have decent items, but at the same time, they do have double fear. So, I mean, what's all that damage if you can't put it down, right? And that's nothing against him. That's just they're playing it really well with their CC layering to make sure this Gwen doesn't pop off. Blue team Looking to get the third inner tower on the top side and triple inhib red team. And just looking at the state of this game, I feel like the inevitable is about to happen. Yep, Renekton with a very, very big dive. I mean, he dies in return, but they crack the base, they crack the towers. They're just going to hit the base, or I should say, they're going to just kill everybody first, leaving Shadow to tell the tale. And unfortunately, red team just gets blown out this game. And with that, the score is 1-0. Happy to be here. This is game, set, match. Domain expansion has to win this game to stay in the tournament. And more importantly, they have to play and win this game to force a game 3. Looking back on this draft, they had the right idea with the grubs. It just very unfortunate. I mean, a little bit honestly of a draft diff. You know, they had a very good draft in terms of if they wanted to 1-3-1 at least with the side laners. But I just think this combination right here, the Leona Lilia Misfortune, just not very cohesive, trying to be alone without their two side laners. Leona has no means of actually peeling, and neither does Lilia. And if you can't Misfortune ult, what good is it? We are now just waiting on draft number 2. Yeah, I commend the Renekton. He lost lane pretty decisively in terms of trading. I mean, Derp made a few errors in terms of trading, just trading health for no reason when he had a perfectly good way to bounce the wave back to himself. Renekton getting some free heals back with enraged Qs, keeping him in the lane so he wouldn't have to overextend. But Renekton played it pretty well. I mean, he went from a 1,500 deficit to being even in terms of gold with this Fed Gwen, this early Fed Gwen, I should say, and being a whole level up on him later in the game. Curious to see what domain expansions answer is going to be for this team comp that they're going to draft. If they try the 1-3-1 again, they're going to have to draft a way better comp that's going to support that. They had very good side laners, and like I said, they got the grubs. Just who cares, right? They got the grubs, couldn't actually do anything with them, and that's the unfortunate. That's the unfortunate part of grubs versus going for things like dragon. Sometimes grubs is a gambit, essentially. If you can make it work, awesome. But it extremely feels bad if you can't make it work. Because dragons provide permanent buffs for the rest of the game, which I'm sure everybody already knows that. Looks like we're going to have a side swap for this time. Domain expansion opting for the blue side. It's a very interesting strategy to have Tekka be on the Yone. But in the end, I don't know if it was worth it or not because they ended up sending Shadow Bot anyways. And nothing came of it. Looking like both teams are ready for draft, and this time I am actually on the ball, able to see that draft has started this time instead of being late. Domain expansion opting for the Jarvan ban early, which is understandable. No matter if Jarvan is strong or weak, he is still Jarvan. Very, very good champ just overall, just to have. Same thing with like an Ornn. Whether he's strong or weak, it's an Ornn. You can never go wrong with that. Except in this case, he's a very good jungler, which junglers are better than top laners as a whole. The Hecarim in response for Josh. We got a Thresh ban, understandably so. I mean, Thresh didn't do anything too crazy, but at the same time, he did land a lot of his hooks. I mean, they weren't crazy hooks, but they were consistent. Very good flay cancels on the dashes when they came in. Just overall solid performance out of that Thresh last game. They're going to respond with the Leona ban, followed by a Nautilus and a Malzahar. Domain expansion, hovering Lucian for Tekka, which, if I'm not mistaken, I believe is one of his main champions. I could be confusing that with somebody. I I wish I had done my homework, but I decided to stream this last second. Happy to be here. Going to possibly respond with this Kai'Sa. Now the Kai'Sa, as we saw earlier in the week, very, very volatile pick when piloted correctly. As I believe, what was it, that first set of games? Um, yeah, that first set of games, that Kai'Sa just absolutely smurfing it with her positioning and the killer instinct. Not to mention the magnetic W's that seem to hit absolutely everybody. Viego's going to be locked in, most likely jungle. I don't see it going anywhere else personally, but I've been around before. And it looks like we got a Rammus hover, which that could be very, very interesting. And we do have Lucian Nami in the bot lane. Looks like they're going to play for a very, very strong side bot. Hopefully it pays off for them because they desperately need an answer for that game one. Because they surely didn't have anything going for them game two. They had a spark in the top lane, but when the team loses on the other side of the map, there's only so much you could do too, right? Looks like we're going to have a Mordekaiser lock in. We do have a Kled ban for Derp. Domain expansion, rightfully so, responding with a Hui ban, and they're going to double ban top lane with the Gwen. And we do have the Vygar ban, because I do believe Yoshi Miner does play a lot of Vygar, if I recall. I usually see him on Cho'Gath, but I think Vygar is one of his other champions. Blitzcrank being locked in here. I do think the only champion they're going to be able to hook if Tekka has hands is this Nami. And if they're able to get a hold of this Nami, Nami is not the tankiest fish in the sea. That is for sure. We do have the Fiora in response to the Mordekaiser, provided that that is top lane and for some in not some weird off-meta jungle pick with Ghost and Viego mid. Most likely Mordekaiser top with Viego jungle. I am actually not too familiar with this matchup, but just looking at it for face value, I would say they have pretty even-ish trading early, with Mord having less skill expression, so to speak, in terms of putting his damage down. But Fiora definitely, I believe, has the advantage with that sustain early game on the vitals. And we're going to have a Lux mid with an answer of Syndra. Syndra opting to throw balls in the face of domain expansion this game. Just looking at the draft, I actually like domain expansion's draft better than the last game. However, I will say an underrated character for this game is probably going to be this Mordekaiser. And mainly because it's not because he's going to do the most damage. If you look at Domain Expansion's team as a whole, all Mordekaiser has to do is ult the Rammus away. And then what? I mean, that allows Syndra and Kai'Sa to ignore the most obnoxious person on their team and point and click Lucian to death. And then that would leave Fiora to attempt to 1v4 since they're going to be in the death realm together. In terms of bot lane, like I said, I'm not too familiar with bot lane matchups. I myself am a top laner, but I do know Lucian Nami does put out decent damage. So this is all going to come down to if this Blitzcrank can get a hold of this Nami, because I doubt he's going to get a hold of this Lucian. But if they do, I do think that Kai'Sa wipes the floor with bot lane as a whole. Nice thing about this mid lane matchup is if you itemize right, you play the lane right as Shadow, you just have to Lux E the wave and just wave clear in front of Syndra's face. And you'll be pretty solid for the most part. Syndra is a very, very scary champion to deal with. Especially if she's able to get her passive stacked fairly early. Appreciate the feedback. I am a boomer when it comes to streaming technology. I've only done it a handful of times, and this is the first time I've shoutcasted absolutely anything. So I am drinking some liquid courage because I need to calm my goddamn nerves. That being said, we do have a minute on spectator. But like I said, the unsung hero of this game, when it comes to team fights, that is, if they're able to 5v5 or even 4v5 for the time being, because Fiora could easily just forego the team fights and side lane like a menace. Because Fiora with Ravenous Hydra, and I don't even know, but maybe even Hullbreaker too, can absolutely shred towers, right? And be very, very healthy doing it and have excellent 1v2 potential. But this Mordekaiser, if he joins team fights and ults that Rammus away, he is going to swing the fight, at least for those 8 seconds, in the favor of Happy to be here. Because if that Rammus has no chance to get on top of the Kaisa or the Syndra, then they're just going to be able to do so much damage. I mean, Syndra, you could hit, you don't have to really, I say that as if Syndra doesn't have skill expression, right? But Syndra has very, very easy to hit abilities when it comes to team fighting. She can put down a lot of damage very quickly, very good area of effect stun. And then the Kaisa with the self peel, just on any champion hitting any form of CC, whether it's Syndra knockback, Blitzcrank knockup, Viego stun, you name it. Or even her just hitting the W on anybody to reposition. And like we saw in that first bracket tournament, what was it, a week ago, that Kaisa, with her positioning, with the killer instinct, absolutely carried that game. I believe this game is supposed to go down just about how the last game went down. They're going to have to get very good side lane pressure, except this time they're only going to have the one champion to do it with, which is the Fiora. And if Fiora can become an absolute nightmare for blue team, if Fiora can prevent them from grouping as 5, that'll help out the rest of his team that much better. Even if he dies for it, within reason, right?
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I think blue team just has I think red team just has a stronger team fight, as we have a 4 stack in the top lane, the top side mid bush. Except I think, based off of these peens, blue side knows about it. Blitzcrank looking like he might have spotted the Nami over there. They're going to sweep, and they're going to walk in here. Nami doesn't know. So far, nobody on any sort of vision whatsoever on this side. Thankfully, Nami opts to not stick around for the danger. And it looks like Shane's going to get a free Raptor side start this game. It should be very interesting to see how Rammus responds to that. Because if this Viego can get going early, that'll definitely help out. Looking like Tekka and Kaisa fighting over priority for level 2. Looking like it's going to go to the side of Tekka. But Blitzcrank does have that hook lined up at any given point. Looking like Tekka's going to get the level 2 first. Except they don't know. Viego started the bot side. If they push up here, Viego could get a free kill right here and really screw bot lane. Blitz with the hook on the minion. But if they just go here, alright, the flash forward from the Blitzcrank and the fucking ignite, but oh, Tekka flashes over the Viego stun. Very well played. Good idea. Mediocre-ish execution, but I like the idea. But with that information, Rammus should know that at least 2 of his camps are down. And unfortunately for him, he's not in a position to go cross map. So he's only going to get 4 camps at the start of this game. So now he's going to have to opt for if he's going to try to gank or if he's just going to clear his Krug camp. Just based off of the mini-map right now, he's looking to see if he could fight this Viego here. Viego does have red buff. I mean, that doesn't mean that's an automatic win, but Syndra's got first move here. Josh is going to get stunned up by the Viego. Rammus presses Ghost, and he's going to die to the Syndra for first blood. Very greedy invade on the side of Josh. I understand the urgency to try to get your camps in return, but you also have to have teammates to help out. Shane is going to dash forward, but take a lot of damage in response for missing that stun. This bot lane having absolutely no trouble 2v1 or 2v3, excuse me. Good hook from the Blitzcrank, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter. They have wave advantage, and Tekka doesn't really need to do a whole lot here. He could just chill. He could just farm this, shove this in, reset, roam, do whatever he feels like. He is low on mana, but he's in a very good position here. Got the gold difference this game. So far, top lane just pretty much just wet noodle fight for the most part. Derp's going to take an unfavorable trade here. Darkin's going to go in on him, but I mean, Fiora's going to heal some of that back, but he's going to lose about 1/3 of his HP for that, for just a little bit of mispositioning. I think you could start going for those trades a lot more once you start getting some AD, because I do believe your passive scales more off of AD for the true damage. Mordekaiser does have the advantage in terms of sustain right now with the D shield, plus he still hasn't used his potion yet. He doesn't have to even reset here. He could just sit right in front of Derp's face. As long as he just keeps hitting Qs like that, forcing Derp to misplay a little bit, miss CS, he's golden. Shane's looking to maybe set up a dive here on him too. I mean, Derp does have ult, but at the same time, he's only going to be able to parry one big ability, and then he does have flash, so I mean, he could outplay it, but he's opting to just reset instead. And no one can fault him for that decision. Darkin, as a result, is going to get a free plate out of it, and a good reset. Fiora picking up that Tiamat, which, something that I forget often when I face Fiora is the Vital can proc off of anything, any sort of damaging ability, even the Tiamat. Hook going right in between both champions. Rammus doesn't know which champion he wants to go after. Opts to go after the Blitzcrank. I think he should have just went on him sooner. Blitz is going to most likely get out of there. I'm not even sure what Syndra just grabbed. Oh, her own ball. Duh. Yeah, if Rammus had just made the decision to go on that Blitzcrank there, he would have just been dead to rights. But the point I was making earlier, that Fiora getting that Tiamat, if she just presses it while the Vital's facing her, and she gets the splash damage, I'm pretty sure it procs the Vital. That's how you see those fake Chinese TikTok videos of Fiora proccing all 4 Vitals in like less than a second. Except not when you proc it like that though and miss it completely. Derp's going for a little bit of a trade here. Parry's way late. Takes the damage anyways. Lux getting decent damage with the final spark on the Syndra for overextending. Now she's out of gas. Tekka is going to dash forward into the Blitzcrank hook. Bubble's going to go a little bit far. Tekka is in a little bit of trouble here. The flash forward on the passive proc. Nami is going to try to finish off Vortex. For whatever reason, Josh decided to not finish off the kill, which I absolutely hate when junglers try to feed kills over. I understand the reason to try to get your carries fed, but it is better to secure the kill than to let it go. And that's exactly what's going to happen here, and they're going to pay for it. 2-0. Very unfortunate gameplay right here. Derp's going to give up some CS, trying to get some trade back on Darken. I'm fairly certain that Kai'Sa was quite literally one auto attack away from dying. That's all they had to do was just hit her once. Derp's going for a trade here. I mean, he could realistically look to all in right there, but he opts not to. Did some decent chunk damage, 2 vitals. Blitzcrank's going to roam mid on Shadow here. Shadow's going to get knocked up, going to get flashed on. Or sorry, you're going to flash away and get hooked back in. But it's not going to convert into a kill. Very unfortunate, though. Shadow is now down a flash, so the next time that happens, if Shadow's not careful, you know, it is a Lux. No movement abilities whatsoever. Does have some decent peel, self-peel with the stun and the slow, but that's not that reliable. Rammus is going to try to hold the wave there, but looks like all that happened was Rammus gave Yoshi a couple extra stacks on the passive. Josh looking to all in the Syndra here. Good flash from Yoshi. Derp on the rotation here. Gets taunted. And this is just a series of unfortunate events right here. Very good book series to read, by the way. But that rotation is going to lose Derp some waves and going to grant Mordekaiser some free plates in response. Derp also down teleport as a result of that. His lane is officially over in my mind, just based off of that alone. Tekka almost going back into the Blitzcrank hook. Thankfully doesn't try to backstep it. The killer instinct from Vortex to go 1-for-1. And the Kai'Sa barrier. Good job turning the situation on its head. Made that Lucian stutter step a little bit too much. And just because of that, Kai'Sa was able to get an extra auto attack or 2 off and go 1-for-1 in a losing fight scenario. Blitzcrank able to somewhat hold this wave for Kai'Sa. Well, by somewhat, I mean going to 100% hold this wave for Kai'Sa. Good bubble, good poke. But still got to be careful. It is Blitzcrank, and the wave is near the tower. You don't have Lucian ulti anymore to try to quickly finish off that Blitzcrank. Good effort to try to sneak that hook in. Rammus is going to dive the tower. He's going to tank the tower. Tekka is now tanking the tower. Oh! They go 2-for-1. Very unfortunate on the delegation of tanking. It went from Rammus, then it went to Nami, and then it went back to Lucian. I think Rammus could have tanked a little bit more, but very well played by the Kai'Sa to excuse me. Very well played by the Kai'Sa to get a kill in response. Looking at these trades here on the top lane, I mean, yeah, Derp is down a level, but he's doing a lot of true damage. He got Conqueror stacked right there. He should just really pull the trigger. He's got his ultimate. He's got vision. I mean, he doesn't know that the Viego is in the topside jungle, but I think he could really punish this Mordekaiser and dissuade any sort of gank top right now if he just alled in the next time Mordekaiser steps up like that. Especially once he gets the Conqueror stacked. He had about 8 Conqueror stacks right there and opted to not go in. I saw his health bar melting a little bit. I do like this Blitzcrank's gameplay. Nami sending the ult out, Lucian getting a fully channeled culling on the Blitzcrank, but Nami's going to be bought in the response. Very good sidestep by Tekka. Rammus is here. Flash forward from Tekka. Rammus with the taunt. Vortex is going to get out of there. Tekka's going to kill the support. And Yoshi's going to live, and very, very unfortunate. They just cannot secure the kills. They get so close. I guess report Lucian for not having Collector. No, I'm just kidding. Or not Lucian. Yeah, red team. Yeah, I'm a little bit of an Ingleberry. Yoshi doing decent chunk damage to Lux here. And Rammus is going to get invaded on his Raptors. Blitz hooks him back in. Rammus does not have defensive curl ball anymore. Red team starting to just take over blue side's jungle now. This is going to start looking very, very dire. This is looking like a repeat of game 1. Derp is starting to get in danger of being killed here. Very good sidestep from Tekka. I mean, provided that blue team is losing, Tekka is actually playing this very, very well considering the fact. It's just unfortunate that he has to play out of his mind. The flash forward on the blitz hook doesn't hit the intended target. They don't know that Viego's around the corner. Viego with a nice stun. I don't even think he knew it was going to hit. And Shadow is just going to get balls to the face from the Syndra. She pressed the outplay button. Good hook on the blitz, predicting the sidestep toward the bottom side. Derp got crowd controlled by not knowing exactly where to go, and Mordekaiser looks like he might get a double kill here. They do have the plant here, but very ambitious flash. I don't know if I would have done that. It's just a Rammus. Because now you don't have flash for the next time. Josh looking to execute here, if at all possible. And he'll get it, but this is starting to look very, very, very dire for the blue team. They're going to have to start making some very, very desperate pick plays. Derp painting Lucian, I don't know, out of tilt. But regardless, yes, he needs to pin this Lucian because it is all up to Lucian at this point. He seems to be the only lane that has even stood a chance, even provided the fact that he's not that much up in gold. In fact, combined, they're actually down 700 gold. Even though he's up maybe 30 gold on this Kai'Sa. You look at the state of the map. The unfortunate thing this game is not only do they have both dragons, But unlike last game, they don't even have 6 scrubs. Now, red team has all 6 scrubs. So now what do you do with this Fiora in the side lane, right? I mean, granted, he wasn't doing a whole lot of damage to begin with right now, but point being is now that as an option is not as volatile as it could be. Rammus and friends able to get the Rift Herald, but Blitz is just going to get this Nami hook, and even though Josh is pretty tanky with the defensive ball curl, or curl ball, however the hell you pronounce that, it's not going to matter when you have a Syndra with Rabadons and the Luden's companion just one-shotting you. Derp going on an adventure in the top lane. Nothing really going on mid right now. Playing around the world with this Mordekaiser for funsies. Killer Instinct's gonna come in. Tekka doing great damage. Good taunt. Unfortunately, the Lux doesn't get the kill. I think that hitbox needs to be visually updated because it looked like that laser hit, but kill going over to the Rammus instead. Which, cool, you guys got the kill, but the Rammus is not the intended target. And it's just unfortunate the kills that they are getting are not going to the targets that they need them to go to in order to potentially get back into this game, even though it is looking dire. Almost 12k deficit, 11.3k deficit. At 19 minutes and 50 seconds, third dragon's going to go over to the red team, and this Baron is going to spawn, and I doubt that blue team has any way to actually stop this. They could just start it right now. And now especially they don't have any way to stop this when Yoshi just presses the R key and just deletes Lux off the screen. Blitzcrank going on a scouting mission for this Rammus. Not opting to mess with him and his blue buff. Decided, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to make it hurt. Looks like Rammus didn't finish the blue buff. I think Blitz might have hooked it over the wall. I might have lied. Blitz just being a pest because he can. And Josh is going to pay the price for it, trying to do his camps. Rammus doesn't get the flash of the Viego, but who cares? In the Death Realm, Lucian versus this Mordekaiser. Lucian actually doing decent damage, but this Mordekaiser does have the shield. Tekka's able to outplay it thanks to the Nami healing. Very well played, very good spacing by Tekka. It looked grim at first, but just knows the limits, knows the ins and outs of his champion. A good spark for the side of blue team, but at the same time, it is a Lucian of all champions that is getting fed. That being said, Lucian can carry a game, but we're going to need more than just Lucian to step up if red team wants any chance of staying in this tournament, or even playing a game 3 for that matter. Yoshi just pressing 2 buttons and deleting half of Derp's HP. Now granted, Derp only has maybe 40 extra magic resist, but even still. Ouch. Very, very fed Syndra. I'm curious to see if Syndra has all the splinters yet or not. She is too short of having max splinters already at 22.5 minutes in. This Syndra hits like a truck right now. Probably doesn't even have to hit. Look at that. I mean, that's a travesty. That minion is the GOAT for getting in, for stepping in front the body block for the Rammus for the hook, but just look at that damage on Josh right there. Just a QE on the Rammus did half his HP. I mean, Rammus only has a Negatron cloak. Lux running for her life. Does she have the happy feet to dodge this Blitzcrank? Yes, she does. Good flash. I mean, unnecessary flash, but I would have probably made the same flash. Gets the revenge kill. So this is looking like game, set, match. Unless they're, for some reason, they just don't end right here. It looks like they're not going to be able to. But with that being said, I do believe Dragon is spawning in a minute or two. Derp chasing Shane down, trying to get this Viego here before this Dragon spawns. Gets all the marks, gets all the vitals. My client deciding to spawn in for no reason because the game must be over already, but gets the jungler in response. And Lucian made the mistake of being on the same screen as Syndra. And just 12-0 Syndra right now. Absolutely massive amounts of damage. Quite literally almost double the amount of gold as the opposing mid laner. In fact, has more gold than the mid laner and the jungler combined. Very goated gameplay by Yoshi Miner here. Blitzcrank once again showing that he is the absolute definition of a pest. Just being everywhere he doesn't want you to be. And look at that. What an absolute mess. Just getting Q and W doing more than 2/3 of this Fiora's HP. I mean, what do you do here? What do you do against this Syndra? You even look at Syndra and she just kills you. Tekka opting to try to fight this Mordekaiser. I mean, they're going to have to make a desperate play here. I mean, it's looking grim. Yep, killer instinct. Now here's the question that everyone's dying to know. Does Red Side end this game with the perfect KDA on the Syndra? It's looking like it. They're doing everything they can to turn that Syndra's 13-0 into a 13-1. But she just will not die. Good hook by Pajamas onto Tekka. And it's looking like game, set, match to me. Red team will take these towers down. And it looks like happy to be here is happy to stay here. They are going to go onto losers bracket game number 2. Or sorry, yeah, match number 2, I should say. And unfortunately, on the side of domain expansion, that is it for the tournament series. Very well played on the side of both teams. Unfortunately, it was just more well played on the side of happy to be here. They were in control of both games. Well, it says L, so my bad. Lower bracket. You're right. But unfortunately, that's it for domain expansion. And happy to be here is going to go on to the next bracket in the lower bracket. They do have to keep winning to stay in this series, though, because they're in the lower bracket, and this is a double elimination. They've already lost their first one, but they get to breathe another day. Just very unfortunate. First game, they had a clear goal that they wanted to get to with the grubs, just weren't able to actually do anything with the grubs, and then the second game, they just didn't even have the grubs this time for this Fiora to side lane. I mean, is what it is, right? So, Ignore my piss poor commentary. This is that was game set match. Very well played on both sides. And good luck in your guys' next games.